Hello and welcome to Rob from the Internet Talks About Beer, a show where we discuss different styles of beer, beer history, beer flavor profiles. We give shout outs to breweries we think do beer exceptionally well, and we talk about whatever else comes to mind. I'm Rob from the Internet. Let's talk about beer. All right, so joining me today is my buddy Steve. We're friends on Twitter, and we discuss beer a lot, and we've sent each other beers back and forth. So if you would, Steve, please tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into the craft beer scene.
Hey, Rob, first time actually seeing you in person, so it's nice to not just get behind a wall of text and actually see you in person.
Right.
So essentially, I got into craft beer a little bit in college. I'm 36, so about 15 years ago, I got pretty heavy into craft beer, and it kind of started with myself and my roommates just creating a beer wall in our house, which was essentially just a couple of 1x3s, and the rule was you had to drink 6 beers in order to put the bottle on the wall, and it kind of opened us up to all these different bottles and getting into different stuff back when the craft beer scene was just really, well, I hadn't really started really, so you were getting more into kind of macros and doing like some of the European beers and stuff like that. But a lot of different styles, a lot of different stuff. So we did a lot of that. And I have 2 kids. So that keeps me pretty busy at home. And I'm a project manager in construction. Do that for and I love craft beer.
Awesome. All right. So let's just jump right in and start discussing our beer today. Today we're going to be talking about Milk Stouts. So this will be our 3rd or maybe 4th episode that we've done featuring different styles of stouts. So the stout is actually a shortened name. So it used to actually be called a stout porter. So porters were originally from London. They originated somewhere in the 1700s, mid to early 1700s. Had a strong flavor, and they took longer to spoil than other beers, so they became really popular. And they were also significantly cheaper than other beers, which also made them really popular with the working class. They were actually called porters because they were favored by porters, who were people that ferried things back and forth for customers from either trains or boats or what have you, or carriages to wherever their destination was. Originally, the word stout was just used to mean strong. So you could have any beer could be a stout, whatever. So it wouldn't be unheard of to have things like a stout IPA. But somewhere in the mid to late 18th century, stout became equated with stronger dark beers and the stronger porters specifically. The first known use of the word stout was actually in a document dated from 1677, found in a book called the Edgerton Manuscript, and it was then that they started using the term stout for stronger beers. Milk stouts actually came along quite a bit later. They were in the late 18th century. When they discovered that they could add lactose to the beer to give it a sweeter flavor profile. Lactose, for people who don't know, is a sugar derived from milk. And if you're lactose intolerant, you'll want to steer clear of milk stouts or take whatever it is. Like my wife takes Lactaid or whatever it is so she can enjoy them, because it'll wreak havoc with your guts if you're lactose intolerant.
Absolutely.
All right. So for tonight's beer, I am drinking Grain and Grits Hokey Pokey. While it's not technically advertised as a milk stout, it is a stout with lactose, therefore it falls into the category of milk stouts. But this one also happens to have sponge toffee and chocolate, which makes it absolutely delicious.
Sounds good. Absolutely.
What are you having?
Well, I got to shake mine. It's actually a Nitro Milk Stout from Calabogie Brewery. So I got to do that whole thing right now. It's a little bit of fun.
Nice.
But it's
Pour
the brown
hard.
Cow.
Okay.
Brown Cow. Classic. A 613 staple, as I call it, because it's one of the beers I always kind of have laying around in my fridge because it's absolutely fantastic and a safe bet. And sometimes when you're in the craft beer adventures, you just need a safe bet, and this is definitely one of those.
Absolutely. So in our house, a safe bet beer is typically Nickelbrook's Cause and Effect, which is just a blonde ale, which is, those days when you just want a beer flavored beer.
Yeah, you don't want to overthink it. You just want something simple and to the point, right? Nothing wrong with that. I have a couple of those as well. Like Erding or Dunkel is one that I go to for that.
That's a fantastic beer. Yep.
Yeah, I love that beer too. And it's just, like I said, sometimes it's just safe to have audiovisual from Collective Arts, another one like that you can just kind of pound back, and it's straightforward and solid.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't audiovisual used to be called Lunch Money?
Yes. Yeah, it was called Lunch Money. It had a pretty cool can, if I remember correctly, too. But
which I don't know why they changed the name of it. I thought Lunch Money was a great name because it is what it is. I mean, it's squarely aimed at the blue collar sector, people who drink the Miller Lite and the Coors Light and things like that. And don't get me wrong, it's a great beer. And if you're just wanting to sit on the patio and drink a beer flavored beer, that's a great choice.
Yeah, you can just crush them back, right? There's nothing. They're highly crushable, as I often say on my Twitter account. The crushability factor is high on those ones for sure.
The crushability factor is high. All right, so with mine, taking a smell, this one actually doesn't have a whole lot of aroma to it. If you breathe in pretty deep, you get a little bit of chocolate. There's a slight bit of that roasty coffeeness, but it does have a sweet aroma. So. And on the initial sip, you get a big hit of chocolate and that kind of caramely toffee flavor with just a hint of coffee on the back end of mine. So
that's what I like about Milk Stouts.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You usually have a little bit of sweetness, and I've got a pretty big sweet tooth, so I tend to lean towards those a little bit more. But you can do so much with them from a flavor profile standpoint as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and the thing about the thing about milk stouts is a lot of people, they're in that mindset of porters and stouts, they're fall and winter beers, and I'm very much no. You can have stouts year round. I mean, that's why they make things like Guinness, which is a 4.6. They call it a stout. Technically, it wouldn't fall into the actual category of stout because it isn't above 6%. But they call it a stout. It's actually a porter, but that's a great summer stout, so to speak, or a session stout, if you will. And stouts, porters, all those beers that people typically associate with the colder weather, barley wines, even you can have them year round. There's I don't know when exactly it turned into, this is a beer you have during the winter, but I think that the thinking needs to go away.
It's got a soft, velvety mouthfeel, which gives it kind of that comfort feeling. I think that's why people kind of like it, right? And you can have it cold, you can have it warm. So it kind of has those wintry profiles for that reason. But I'm with you, man. Like, there's never a bad time to crack a stout as far as I'm concerned. I just,
right.
I'm an all season. I'm primary. That's one of my favorite styles too. IPAs and stouts are kind of my two main go-tos. So for me, it's all year round. I always and I love when breweries still put them out in the winter. Some don't. So in the summer, some don't put them out as much in the summer. But it's nice to see when they still when they're still pumping them out in the summertime. Yeah, this one here is a 5.5, so it would be considered probably a session stout as well. But the aroma, it's very soft, kind of a coffee on the nose. It doesn't have a whole lot of smell to it, but there is like a kind of a milk chocolate coffee kind of very mild aroma to it. Okay. And what I love about this beer is the mouthfeel. It's like ludicrously smooth.
Well, that's because you said it's a nitro brew. So I mean, you replace the CO2 with nitrogen, and you get that smooth, that super creamy feel to it, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's a gem for sure. And I've had this a few times in a few different ways. I've had it. I was able to get it at the brewery a couple of times as well, and it is just a classic here. Like, it's a absolute must. I really going back to the Guinness thing. You talk to a lot of stout people, like people who actually really enjoy the style, and a lot of people kind of trace their origins of like the enjoyment of stouts to Guinness. Like myself as well. Like, I really kind of got into Guinness before anything, and it was because I was 21 and trying to be cool, and I was like, "Look, I'm drinking a Guinness," But it did introduce me to the style, and I kind of just got really acquainted with that mouthfeel, that really smooth flavor and texture that it has, and the bitterness that comes around. So it opens your palate a bit too. So it's a good start. I think it's a good starter stout for people too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Guinness was the first stout I ever tried. I mean, I think it's the first stout that a lot of people ever tried because it is super accessible. It's widely known. It's a worldwide brand. Every drop of Guinness you drink comes from the same brew house in Ireland. So no matter if you're drinking in the United States, you're drinking in Canada, you're drinking in England, you're drinking in Ireland, it's the same beer. It might have a slightly different flavor profile by the time you get to it because it's sat in a can a little longer, but it's the same beer, the same water, the same yeast, the same hops, the same barley. It's all exactly the same. Every drop of it comes from there. And if you ever get the chance to go to Ireland and tour the original Guinness facility at Gate 9, it's absolutely fantastic. They do a fantastic job, and they've got like, I think it's 4 levels tall for the museum building, and there's a bar on every level.
Wow, that's nice. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
it sounds very Irish.
Yeah, well, yeah. So my wife Lisa and I went on a tour. I ran a half marathon in Edinburgh, Scotland, and we figured, since we're right here, let's just hop over, and we'll go to Ireland. And then we went to Ireland for a week, and then after that, we went to England for a week. And
nice.
Yeah, so while we were in Ireland, we decided, hey, let's go tour the Guinness facility. And the facility that you tour is no longer the production facility, but it's the original facility, and they've turned it into this museum, and it's absolutely fantastic. You go from the first floor, you go through, and they have a history of how the brewery got started and all the different advertising campaigns they've had over the years, and you can literally just walk, and it's like a big ramp. You walk all the way up to the top. If you were to look at the shape of the interior of the building, it actually looks like one of the Guinness pint glasses. It's absolutely fantastic.
That's pretty cool. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. I've never had the chance yet, but I'm going to have to make that stop for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's a great facility, and everyone who works there is absolutely very customer focused. I mean, We spent an extra $65 for the VIP tasting tour, and they have a secret bar inside the facility that you have to get tickets to go to, and it's hidden, and you'd never know it was there if you didn't get taken into it. And they actually give you 5 different Guinness beers from different areas of the world. So like they have their West Indies beer, they have the standard Guinness. And they've got when we were there, they had Guinness actually did an IPA, and so we had a Guinness IPA, which was really, it's interesting. So they give you these beers that you wouldn't normally be able to get unless you were actually in one of the host countries, which is kind of cool.
Nice. Well, that's really cool. That's interesting. So what what was the brewery you said that was from? That one that you're drinking?
This is from Grain and Grit in Hamilton.
Okay, cool. And I haven't had anything from them yet, actually. That's
you're doing yourself a disservice, my friend.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to check them out. You guys you guys on Twitter usually give me pretty good ideas of what the next brewery is to order from. So
yeah, well, I might be a little biased. I'm friends with the owners, but They have their brewer Alex is actually from Germany. He came over to Canada to be their brewer, and he does a fantastic job with everything he puts his mind to. He's a younger guy. I think he's in his early to mid 30s, but I tell you what, he makes fantastic beers, and this is no exception. I mean, every beer that they put out, is good. There might be styles that you don't like, but they don't make bad beer.
There's not too many styles I don't like, to be honest. I kind of like to dabble in everything. There's certain styles I think I've had less of. I think that's just because there's just not as many available. Like I kind of went on a English style bitter run this year where I just tried a bunch of those. But yeah, no, like if there's a stout I haven't tried, I'm always grabbing it. It's kind of the first thing. So that's why with this show it made sense to go the Milk Stout route for me, because like I said, it's kind of one of the main beers. I'm always trying something. I mean, there's certain breweries that just do them really well. Like we know of a few. Obviously, you sent me some stuff from Sawdust not that long ago, and they were just great, making great stouts last year. Just phenomenal stuff.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I actually interviewed Sam Corbet from Sawdust, and we were actually talking about their Mojito IPA, but we got off topic a bit, and I was talking about how much I love the Cthulhu series, and the Blood of Cthulhu and the Revenge of Cthulhu were both absolutely phenomenal the last couple of years.
Yes, they were. There was a couple of other ones too that they came out with, I think, and there was two more that I had tried. Is it one or two more? I can't remember, but there was a couple more from that brewery that were really, really good this year too.
Yeah, they had the Viva Puff Stout, which was the raspberry chocolate stout.
Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird one.
It was a little too sweet for me. The raspberry flavor. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't my jam.
Yeah, it was very much like the cookie though. Like they really nailed the flavor of the cookie in a beer to me, which I was really surprised. I thought it was wacky, and I kind of like that in some beers. Like so you go pretty off the board sometimes, and it's fun. Again, another thing I really like about stouts is that you can play with the flavors quite a bit, right? You can really kind of add. I have one from Quebec in my fridge that I had a couple of about last year in September. I had it for the first time. It's a date stout. It's a date flavored stout, and I was like kind of like worried about it. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go, but it actually turned out really, really good, and it has a hilarious name, which I don't even know if I can say it. This is a family friendly show or not, but
this is a show.
Okay. It's called, well, in French, the word for seal is fuck. So it's called, so there's a seal on it, and it's called fuck dat. So date in French is dat, so it's called fuck dat.
Fuck that. That's awesome. Yeah, no, don't worry about really swearing on my show. It's not geared towards children, and I'm not doing this for monetization, so I'm not worried about being demonetized. I do this show strictly because I like to do the show, and
cool.
And I want to try and spread the word about different styles of beer to people who might be a little bit inhibited, because there's a lot of people that are stuck in that, oh, well, I drink Coors Light and that's all I drink, that rut. And if my show can help even one of those people go, oh, maybe I'll try a different style, then it's all been worth it for me.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I like the video aspect. I do the Twitter thing because for the same reasons. Like it's really just to spread the word on beers that I think are really unique or delicious. I don't do bad reviews as a general rule of thumb because I know the brewers work really hard on their beers, and I just kind of really focus on unique, delicious. That's it. If something just kind of blows my palate away, where I'm like, wow, this is really different, or this is really good, then I'll put it on Twitter. Beyond that, I'm not usually saying too much about it. So.
Yeah. Now with the one that you were talking about from Quebec, I mean, I could see a date stout being absolutely fantastic because chocolate and dates, that pairing would be really, really good. You've got that kind of sweet and exotic flavor from the dates, and then you've kind of got that sweet or slightly savory flavor depending on the type of chocolate that they're using, which would work really well. I mean, you see it all the time, like. There's that brand of snack bars, Lara bars or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That they use chocolate and dates, and that's two of the main ingredients. So it's going to go together well.
Yeah, I haven't had. I've had 3 beers from the brewery that brews that. They're called La Bocale. I've had 3 beers from them, and every beer there has been awesome. Like I don't know what it is. I had this raspberry wheat beer, or sorry, this cherry wheat beer earlier with them. It was phenomenal. I had a milkshake IPA when I was at the cottage, but I was about 8 or 9 pints in at that point, so I wasn't in a reviewing mood. But yeah, no, it was like they make some really good stuff. As a Quebec brewery, like there's, I'm really impressed with them. They've come out with a lot of great stuff. I obviously obsessed with Jude Ciel out there in Quebec too. They do a lot of great beers as well. So. But yeah, and stouts too. Like they have that aphrodisiac, and that you can find pretty much anywhere in Quebec. You can pretty much go to the grocery store and you can find it. But it's really, really solid. And they have a bunch of stuff. But it's kind of nice being in Ottawa for that reason. I can kind of just shoot over to Gatineau. It's like 35 minutes away, and I can grab all the Quebec brews too. So it's nifty. It's a nifty little perk of living in Ottawa for sure. I get kind of both provinces kind of hit, so it's nice.
Yeah, and I can say that, I have not had very many beers from Quebec because, I'm down here in Brantford, which is, 6 or so hours away from the border.
Yeah.
So
tough. That's tough drive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. And, with everything that's been going on for the past year and a half, it's not like I've been going anywhere. So it's not like I've had a chance to get anywhere close there. I mean, I've wanted to get up towards the Ottawa area to again. I haven't been there in 2.5 years. I wanted to get up there again to try some of the other breweries up there, But
there's quite a few. That have popped. Ottawa's really changed a lot, though. It's grown a lot. Well, I mean, everywhere's grown a lot for craft beer. It's crazy, but Ottawa's been good. It's been steady on the growth, and we have a lot of breweries that kind of specialize in different stuff. You've got your IPA heavy breweries. You've got the ones that kind of do more funky small batch stuff. So it's really diversifying quite a bit. It used to be kind of a small brewery town. For a big town, it was like Broadhead, Beyond the Pale. I think Covered Bridge was pretty early in Ottawa too. There was a few, but like not too many. And they were all young breweries, and you could kind of tell at the beginning too that they were young breweries. Like a lot of the stuff in the GTA was, and coming from Montreal and stuff was just way further along. At that time, so it was kind of, it was a slow start. But I mean, I think that's typical for any, you go to a craft. You never want to judge a craft brewery the first time you go. On a young brewery, you never want to judge them too much the first time because they're just kind of getting their stuff together. They're getting their ingredients and their machinery, and all of that stuff is kind of just coming up, right? So I don't like to judge breweries too early. We had one here that popped up here in Ottawa. We went to a hockey game and snagged a couple of beers from it, and I wasn't crazy about anything that I'd had at the beginning. And then I went back about 1.5 years later, and their beers are completely different now. Like they're starting to pump out stuff. So it's like you got to give it some time.
Right. I mean, they got to hit their groove. They got to figure out what it is that the people actually want. Because like my wife and I considered opening a brewery, and we were going to brew a bunch of beers that we like, but that doesn't necessarily mean that other people are going to like the same style of beer. So we would, you have to go, well, here's what we're going to put out initially. And then, okay, how did these go? Well, nobody liked this one. Everybody liked this one. And people kind of like this one. All right, well, that first one we're not going to brew anymore, and we'll brew the other two.
Yeah, and then you bring it back. You bring the old one back as some nostalgic beer down the line when you're like well established, and people were like, "I remember this beer, and I must have it," and then it's fine. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is too. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny world. How's that second sip treating you there?
Quite nice. So when you take a larger sip of this and you kind of let it rest in your mouth, you really get the chocolate and you really get the caramel flavors out of it. And then on the finish, when you open your mouth, you get a hit of coffee at the end.
Nice.
This was actually one of my favorite stouts they put out this year. Mainly because it was 8.5%, and I love those higher ABV beers. But because it was really well balanced, it was really sweet, and it is really sweet. I can't get around that. But that sweetness was tempered really well with the roasty flavor of the malts that they used. So it's nice. They have it on tap still, or at least they did 2 weeks ago when I was at the brewery. And it's always the first beer I start with when it's on tap, just to kind of get my beer game rolling.
Absolutely, especially with the 8.5, it gets your beer game rolling pretty well right off the start. So
Right out of the hopper. Yep.
not a bad way to start. Absolutely. Yeah. This
So
one, this one here too. Like I said, very smooth mouthfeel. You get a good chunk of the coffee kind of at the finish. It's smooth, lightly, kind of mildly sweet up front. Kind of like it's not overly sweet. Just like it's almost like a cross between dark and milk chocolate in the middle, kind of at the beginning, and then it smoothens out to a really just velvety smooth finish to it, which is kind of what I like to see in my milk stout. But it's also prototypical of the Nitro in it as well. And there's just not that many Nitro stouts out there either, so it's nice to get one once in a while. This one's pretty readily available too.
Yeah, for Nitro stouts, me coming from the States, the main one in the States was actually made by Left Hand, and they made a Nitro, and it was literally called Left Hand Nitro Stout. And it was cool because right on the bottle, it's like pop the top and just turn it over and pour it right in your glass. Pour it hard. That's what it says in the instructions. And it's really cool. You're like, oh God, how's this going to work? You pour it into the glass and you're fully expecting it to come up and over the glass, and it like comes right up to the top. And then you just see that kind of like cascading action inside the glass, like you do with the Guinness on draft and things like that. And that's another one. That's another one that Guinness, you can get the actual draft. So it's a Nitro stout in a can. And I have some in the cooler here. Just some days you just want a stout, but you don't want a super heavy stout. And it comes in at like 4.6, and it's on Nitro, so it's nice and creamy. So it works well.
Yeah, it's like I always like to say it's like the show. It's like the show before the beer a bit. Once you see that cascading of the stout, you see that like it like dissipates through the glass. It's really interesting for sure.
It is. It's got that cool like you see all the different little like basically like geographic lines, like if you like a geologist does when they look down through the substrate of the earth. You see all the different lines, and then you see them just kind of like waving down through the glass. It's really cool.
It is, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the part of the show where I ask you a simple question. If you could name one brewery that does milk stouts or stouts in general really well, give them a shout out. Who would that be?
Well, I can give Calabogie for the 613 shout out for sure. They make a great this. I love this beer. It's classic. But I think I really want to say I really liked Wellington, what they did with their cow series this year too. The milk cow. I think it was the milk cow, and then the ghost cow. And they had the ghost cow, and they had the peppermint patty cow, and they had all those different. I didn't actually get the Kentucky bourbon one. I didn't get my hands on that one, but I thought their series. As soon as you brought up Milk Stouts, it's one of the first breweries I thought of, just because I just really liked what they did, the variations they did. I liked the ghost cow. I thought it was a good balance of bitter, spicy, and sweet, and they mashed it well. But I actually really liked, and this probably flies in the face of a lot of, but I really liked the peppermint patty. It was just so out there and different, and it felt like having an after 8 bar, but in a stout, and it was really interesting that way. So it was cool.
Right? No, that one was good. I had one of those myself, and I'm usually not one for the chocolate and mint combination in a beer. Now, don't get me wrong. I go out to dinner, if they hand me one of those little after 8 mints or the Andes chocolate mints, I'm gonna hose that thing down like nobody's business. But in my beer, I shy away from chocolate and mint combination. But that one was really good.
Yeah, it just worked. It wasn't. It was like nothing else I've ever had like that. It's. Predominantly I've had probably a handful of beers with like the mint in it, and I've never really enjoyed them. It was kind of, I always found it out of place, and this beer, it just worked. It was really good. So I want to give them a shout out just because I thought their series was really good this year. I do want to get my hands on one of those Kentucky ones, but one of those Kentucky cow one of these days, but we'll have to try.
Yeah, I did not get any of those. I counted myself lucky enough to get some of their UVB stuff, so which was also another fantastic stout series they did. That was all their barrel aged stuff. So
Right. Yeah, I missed out on all that stuff. Yeah, sometimes it's tough because like especially with Wellington and some of the bigger breweries, you got to be on your game because the stuff it's small batch and it sells out quick, so you got to be really quick
Right,
about it.
right.
So that's why it's good when we can all share on when you guys make orders and stuff, so we can get our hands on some of the stuff. It's great to go on Twitter and just kind of share about it.
It is. Well, I mean, and it kind of helps that when I order, I tend to order a flat at a time because I'm a glutton when it comes to stouts.
Smart move. That's the way to do it. Absolutely. I never buy enough. I never want to overinvest in a beer because I'm just like, because I have limited fridge space. So I try to buy like, two max of something that I haven't had before just to kind of get, and then I realized that I love it. And I'm like, I should have ordered more. And then it's all gone by the time I get back to it. So it's kind of fun.
Well, I mean, it's like that with me too. So like this past year, I ordered a flat of the Blood of Cthulhu and I ordered half a flat of the Revenge. And I'm like, I should have ordered a full flat of the Revenge.
It's so good. That beer was, thank you for that, by the way. That beer was fantastic. I was,
right.
It was during the playoffs, the Leafs, I was watching the Leafs and Habs series and it was, I was enjoying that beer very much that night. It was fantastic.
Yeah. The standard one, the Blood of Cthulhu, is absolutely great. Don't get me wrong, but the Revenge being barrel aged, that for those extra months just gives it such another level of depth for the flavor and so much more smoothness.
Yeah, I actually like that one better. So my previous barrel aged stout that I really liked was from Rouge River. They have one that's really, really good as well. The name is escaping me at the moment, but they have a fantastic barrel aged that was but that one actually took the cake. It actually supplanted that one as my favorite go-to. I really enjoyed that one a lot. It was really good.
Awesome. Well, we have come to the end of another episode. So this is the part of the show where I say, hey, thanks to everybody who's going to watch this on YouTube. If you like it, click subscribe. If you want to know when new episodes come out, click the little bell. Please feel free to leave comments. Let me know if there's any concerns, any questions, or if you have a style of beer you'd like us to talk about. I'd be more than happy to entertain any suggestions because I've got a list of beers that I want to talk about, but they might not necessarily be the ones that people want to hear about. So, with that, I'd like to say thanks to my buddy Steve for being on, and I'm Rob from the internet. Cheers.